Good morning, everyone. My name is Kyle. I'm the vendor and product manager here at 888 VoIP. Thank you so much for taking the time to meet with us today as we discuss Yealink's new video conferencing products for 2019. Before we go ahead and get started, just want to point out at the end of the session, we'll have a question and answer period. If any questions come up throughout the presentation, feel free to utilize the GoToMeeting question submission tool. Might not get to the question directly in the middle of the presentation, but we will certainly get to it at the end. So just a bit of housekeeping notes for that. But again, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to meet with us as we discuss Yealink's new video conferencing products for 2019. Take a look at some of the integration and product features and then the roadmap for the forthcoming year as we explore the new innovative video and collaboration tools Yealink has developed. To get started, let's have a look at the video conferencing solution as it's built out today. The products within the solution set not only are going to encompass hardware applications, but also software and mobile and desktop products. As we can see, we have a diverse set of hardware and software products that's not only innovative, but end user experience driven in terms of its design and feature set. We'll discuss the features of the individual products as we go through this presentation, but at a high level, the solution encompassing hardware, mobile and desktop products is very diverse in the sense that it can be used across multiple platforms and multiple applications. We'll get into discussing the YMS and third-party cloud integration that's supported by the hardware and software products today. But as we can see here, all three products, or all three platforms, I should say, YMS, third-party cloud, or direct point-to-point connection is supported. So at the end of the day, the video conferencing products and solutions that Yealink has developed are primarily IP-based. As the products have developed over time, we're seeing now the support for WebRTC browser-based communications. We've always had voice application support in terms of PBX registration and SIP protocol support, but now we're seeing application inclusion on the mobile side as well. And new this year is Microsoft Teams and Skype for Business support, not only on the hardware side, but as we'll see in a little bit too, the cloud-hosted YMS side of Yealink's product set. So for those of you who are new to Yealink, you'll see that we have an all-encompassing solution. If you've been working with Yealink for a while, you see that this product set and solution set has grown over time to continue to address the workflow of the end user and the needs for communication and effective video collaboration. A few points on why Yealink video conferencing products stand out against the competition. Well, there's four key points that Yealink has always incorporated into the development and design of these products, innovation being first and foremost. They carry it over. Yealink has their noise-proof technology from their IP phone development into the video conferencing side, and they've incorporated and expanded the 1+8 or multi-camera solution that we first saw last year deployed with the VC800. Built-in MCU support has always been a core feature of Yealink since they first came to market 4 years ago, but that's now scaled up to 24 site connections supported on a single hardware device. And new this year is support for touchscreen products that we'll see a little bit later on in this presentation. Collaboration has always been key to the product development. Obviously, video conferencing is a key technology that enables collaboration across different platforms, across different customers, and across users. With the new products we're about to discuss, collaboration in terms of the wireless content sharing, touch meeting control, and the whiteboard features are really going to highlight and separate the new solutions for 2019 from the previous generation products. Interop of the Yealink video conferencing hardware has always been a crucial piece, not only with other hardware components, but more and more so over time, cloud-based video conferencing platforms. That interoperability has continued to expand and develop, as we'll see going forward. And as crucial at the end user level as anything is experience. not only the design and the physical size and makeup of the product, but how it's used on a day-to-day basis from an administration and IT integration level, but also at the end user level, making sure it's intuitive, easy to use, easy to determine ROI based upon use, and experience driving collaboration. As has always been the case with Yealink and looking to develop different strategic alliances, not only on the video conferencing side, but the IP telephony side as well. New this year is specific third-party cloud video conferencing integration support. We'll discuss a little bit later on this presentation how that is done with the specific hardware that's out there. But these 5 or 6 different platforms are specifically supported this year with either unique firmware applications or direct registration support. So Zoom, Pexa, BlueJeans, StarLeaf, and Easy Meeting. Zoom and BlueJeans in particular are pretty large platform providers within the US market. And we'll talk about how the hardware from Yealink is integrated into these different platforms, how these platforms provide leverage in terms of sales and opportunity development when selling the hardware as well. So just a quick look at potential deployment scenarios around this new set of video conferencing equipment. Because we have now such a diverse and different set of hardware endpoints with different price points, features, and use case scenarios, Yealink, as a video conferencing manufacturer, has the ability to support sales and integration of video conferencing and voice and video endpoints into a multitude of work environments. We see here from the huddle room to the medium and large meeting room on through the executive office or remote office user. We have a video application that's going to be pretty dynamic in terms of how the platform, they support, or the use cases in which they need to support can be deployed. We'll talk about the specific features of each and every one of these hardware endpoints as we go through. But the takeaway from this slide being that Yealink, as it stands today, as a video conferencing vendor, has a variety of hardware endpoints for a variety of work case and user scenarios. So I want to take a second just to highlight some of the new products released specifically this year in 2019. Primarily these are going to be accessories and the new VP59 video phone. So first and foremost, we'll take a look at the VP59. As you can see, the design is very similar to what we've seen previously with the T58V and the T49G, going back a few years to the original video phone that carried this T4, T5 design. The key features of the VP59 for this year is a new user interface, support for PoE. That was a big difference from the VP59, or I'm sorry, the T49. That did not support PoE. The VP59 does now. The 59 also supports an Android 7.1 operating system, and on board has 16 gigs of storage for not only recordings, but applications as well. This device also supports the HDMI connection or extension to a separate display. So think in terms of wireless content sharing, because the VP59, as we can also see, supports sharing content from a laptop or a PC, or even multi-party conferencing. The screen is nice, it is touch, it is color, supports 1080p, but it's only, I believe, 7 inches. So to incorporate a better video experience, or deploying the VP59, let's say in a small meeting room, a huddle room, we can utilize the HDMI port as a connector for a larger display. And that display then would show all the video feeds and content being shared within that space. The camera itself is a USB camera, but it has been improved for the VP59, has a little bit wider field of view, 84 degrees. And the phone itself has onboard built-in Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. No need to integrate some accessories like a BT40, WF40, or 50 from Yealink. All that is supported natively on board. With the 16 gigs of storage on board, you can certainly record video as mentioned, but there's also USB ports on the device if you want to incorporate third-party NAS or a USB storage device. So I want to take a look at the new user interface. Like the predecessor T58 and T49, the screen itself is all color touch. But with the new layout, we can see there's more integration for calendars or conference schedules, and built-in support for presentation and recording, just making workflow support in terms of the user and how they actually want to leverage the hardware features in a meeting and collaborative environment. You can see how easy it is, how things are laid out pretty clearly, and have the ability to make joining a meeting and using the collaboration tools that much easier. As mentioned, the HDMI port supports an additional display. As we can see here, we can also extend the camera. Because it's a USB camera, we can get a double, or we can get a female end, male end camera extender cable, and also move the camera itself on top of the display. Instead of having it live on top of the phone itself, we can actually move that for a better video experience. And the VP59, as I mentioned, supports wireless content sharing by using the WPP20, which has been, as of last year, Yealink's standard wireless content sharing device. Just requires that you register, or pair, I should say, the WPP20 to the VP59 itself. Once you pair it, you then can connect that device, that wireless content sharing device, by USB to any sort of user's laptop or desktop device. In addition to that, the VP59 supports wireless microphone pods. So this is just expanding the video collaboration capability of the VP59 from its predecessors by incorporating wireless content sharing, by incorporating a wireless microphone pod. This really becomes now, in effect, Yealink's point of entry for users taking a look at their video conferencing applications. Here's just a quick look at what the content sharing looks like. As you can see, the WPP20 is connected to the user laptop on the right, and it's just a screencast or screen mirroring content sharing effect. As you can see, you still have the ability on the phone itself to record, and there's some control buttons with what you see at the bottom of the floating menu on the phone to take you back to the home as well, the home page menu. So a new accessory also this year for 2019 is the VCM34. Previously, video conferencing systems from Yealink gave you two options for audio. You had a conference phone CP960, or you had the wireless mic pods CPW90. In addition to those, and we'll see in a few slides some of the new bundles that Yealink's going to offer direct from the manufacturer. What we'll see going forward is the VCM34 replacing the CP960 in some scenarios in terms of the bundle packages that are available for the video conferencing systems. But these microphone pods are a little bit smaller. They are PoE powered, so they require connection to an Ethernet cable. But they have a little bit more pickup in terms of, or compared to the CPW90 in terms of the actual radius. And there's more mics built in, whereas the CPW90s are a single mic per pod. Each individual VCM34 is omnidirectional pickup using 3 microphones. You can also cascade up to 4 separate, or 4 total, I should say, VCM34s. So you can encompass that however you can. Just imagine the variety of layouts you can support that way. The only limitation is PoE power through the Ethernet cables. Yealink's noise-proof technology from their IP telephony products, especially the T5 series, have also been incorporated into these pods. So that technology will actually reduce some of the ambient noise not associated to human voice. Think door closing, dog barking, paper shuffling, things like that. These mic pods and that technology, the noise-proof technology, is what Yealink uses to address that type of quality issue and knock that type of ambient noise away. As mentioned, if we're going to do cascading pods, you just got to use a Cat5e cable to carry that PoE connection to all 4 devices. And again, it's up to 4. You could do 1, 2, 3, or 4, depending upon the use case. Okay, a new accessory in 2019 is the Yealink branded soundbar. Previously, it's either in terms of audio output, you're going to be doing that through the HDMI cable and then the display, or some sort of third-party Pro AV equipment. Think of a Clear One or a Crestron as an example that has a mixer and amps and overhead speakers and whatnot. Yealink has decided this year to include, or as an option, the soundbar, which is going to be a 4-speaker 10-watt soundbar. It uses a 3.5 millimeter aux-in cable or port for the cable to connect between the VC800 and the soundbar. It is independently powered, so it does not require a PoE connection down from the main video conferencing system, and just allows you a little bit better integration in terms of where the video system lives versus where the soundbar lives. Obviously, the soundbar is going to want to probably be somewhere close to the TV, but may not be in the same exact location you put the camera. So it gives you a little bit more flexibility in terms of how it's deployed. But again, this is a Yealink branded soundbar. It will be in some packages included direct from the factory with everything else that we talk about in terms of the camera and the pods and or conference phone. Lastly, in terms of new accessories for 2019, and this one is what I'm most excited about, is the CTP20 collaboration touch panel. This is a beautiful color touchscreen that will give us a ton of conference control, but also collaboration enhancements. So it's an Android operating device. The screen itself is approximately 10 inches, or I'm sorry, 13 inches. It is 1080p, and it does come with a stylus or a touch pen. So it will, as you can see from the picture, have some meeting integration support and direct contact or call control features, as you can see with recording or presentation, turning that feature on and off. But new this year is the whiteboard feature. So this is something that's oriented not only for in-meeting collaboration and content sharing within a meeting, but also within the room or the space itself. The whiteboard is designed for multiple use cases, so that if just in a meeting room and wanting to display and annotate or edit, you know, like John Madden on Monday Night Football, a document on the TV, you can do that with this whiteboard device. You can utilize the content sharing technology from Yealink that we discussed with the WPP20. Have up to 4 of those WPP20 adapters available in the meeting room or huddle room, and then just wirelessly share content up onto a screen. It'll be displayed on the TV or the display as normal. And then using the CTP20, you can highlight and annotate and move around and edit whatever is being displayed up on that board. So it's a pretty cool tool for not only in-meeting collaboration, but just in general, reducing the amount maybe of third-party technology that a customer might be considering for that type of use case. So again, there'll be a couple different bundles in which this product will be available, but it will be available directly from Yealink with a video conferencing system or sold separately as an add-on accessory. It would connect directly to the camera, the VC800, VC500. It is a PoE powered device, so it does have to be physically tethered in terms of the Cat5e cable running from either the 500 or the 800 or potentially even 200. That would require an injector, but nonetheless, the touchboard does have to be physically connected and tethered to its host video conferencing camera or system. Okay, so let's take a couple minutes just to talk about the new bundles and how the video systems are going to incorporate these new accessories and how we're going to sell them, because there's going to be quite a variety of different bundles available, and really we'll be able to do some more mix and match and customized bundles of the hardware for the user so that we can be a little bit more effective in how the product is sold and ultimately used. So we'll talk about 3 specific scenarios. This is not going to be the only potential scenarios that these systems are going to be bundled for, but what we feel are probably the most common is going to be what we discuss here for these recommended scenarios and how we bundle the products. So starting with a large meeting room, and just to pull back real quick, a lot of the design at least initially, of these video systems was driven around the room or the environment in which the hardware is going to be utilized. And so that still rings true today. As we talked about before, there's 4 core tenets that Yealink uses to separate themselves from some of the competition in the space. And within the innovation piece of those 4 core tenets, room size is always key in how they develop these new features and technologies going forward. So nonetheless, taking a look at what we would want to do for a large meeting room when we have the full, let's say, buffet of video conferencing hardware available to us. Within the large meeting room, we're probably going to take a look at a VC800, potentially with a CP960, but if there's already a conference phone in play, or let's just say they don't need a conference phone, we can deploy the VCM34s as our audio input. And then we can use the WPP20 for our content sharing. And then the call control will come from the CTP20, as compared to before, previously, where a lot of that call control was done through the VCR11, just the remote, or potentially even with the CP960. And then that's our hardware. And then you can kind of see within this graph, there's 2 real popular or standard, if you will, methods of connection. We're either going to use a cloud platform like a Zoom, a BlueJeans, Easy Meeting, something like that, or that platform and that service is really driving the behind-the-scenes connection for everything, and the hardware is just going to ensure that higher quality of video drive a deeper collaboration in terms of using content and sharing content real time. Or we're going to use more of a point-to-point or maybe on-premise type of application. Yealink has their YMS, which is like an on-premise call control and registration device. And as we mentioned at the top of the presentation too, is we can actually incorporate on-device multi-point control unit licenses. We can do 8, 16, or 24-point licenses on board of a VC800. So that VC800 becomes a host device, right? And that can host, depending upon the license, all of our meetings right there without having to push the data outside of the customer network onto a cloud solution and back again. This is how we would want to go about connecting it. It's pretty straightforward in terms of how it's all connected. As I mentioned with the VCM34 and the CTP20, those are all Cat5e, PoE driven in terms of power. So to connect those, we're really just talking about a couple of cables, all managed back through the cable hub, or right directly to the VC800 itself. The VC800 can support 2 TVs. So when we're talking about sharing content, it's great to have 2 TVs, especially when we have one devoted for whatever content's being shared, and then another devoted to the live video feeds. All right, so let's take a look at a potential solution for a medium conference room, huddle room, a smaller maybe meeting room. So again, kind of taking a look at the buffet of hardware options. For this type of application, we're going to pick out a VC500 as our camera codec, pair that with the CPW90 wireless microphone pods, and then utilize the WPP20 as our content sharing device. And this time, because it's a smaller room, maybe the table isn't as small or as large, maybe there's no table, depending upon the use case, we can just utilize the VCR11 as our call control. Now, the great part about this setup or these packages is that there'll be standard packages available, but we can mix and match. So as an example, if you wanted to deploy a VC500, but with VCM34s, the wired microphone pods, WPP20s, and then incorporate a CTP20 touch panel controller, we can do that. Okay, this is just one of the bundles that will be available directly from Yealink, where we have a VC500, wireless pods, wireless content sharing, and a remote on board. That SKU itself would be called the VC500-mic-WP. That's how we would sell it and quote it to you if you came to us and asked us about that. One thing to note, with the new CPW930, or I'm sorry, the CPW90 wireless microphone pods, new this year will be a Bluetooth option for those pods that will allow up to 4 pods now to be registered back to the host VC500. Previously, these pods and what we're currently selling today are decked DECT versions of these pods where we can only deploy 2 at a time. A new enhancement for 2019 is the ability to deploy these using Wi-Fi up to 4 at a time. Okay, lastly, we'll just have a look at a potential solution for a huddle room, smaller meeting space, collaboration space. For this application, we want to use the VC200 based upon its form factor, its size, design as an all-in-one endpoint, the camera field of view being a little bit smaller. We'll pair that with the WPP20, go with no audio devices whatsoever because, again, it's built-in beamforming microphones on board as an all-in-one endpoint. There is not the requirement for additional audio accessories. And then we'll use the VCR11 as our controller. And again, we can incorporate any one of these accessories if we'd like to the VC200, but by design, it's all built in to the hardware itself. And so this is kind of what I'm talking about in terms of the all-in-one design. As we see, 6 beamforming microphones all in the housing itself, built-in Bluetooth and Wi-Fi support, content sharing supported natively once you pair the WPP20 to the VC200. It's a PoE powered device. The camera itself has a 4 times, it's like a digital zoom, but the camera also supports 4K, up to 4K quality video. It's EPTZ, so what that means is essentially you can move your field of view around a little bit, but in terms of going vertically, up and down, you only get a little bit of play with the EPTZ. Ultimately, you'll have to manually adjust up and down if you want to get a really aggressive change in how the camera is positioned. Okay, so we're going to talk about some of the cloud integration features, referencing some of the more popular cloud platforms out there, and how you will go about registering or some of the features supported by the Yealink video conferencing endpoints. We'll first talk about Videxio. If you're not familiar with Videxio, not a problem. It's primarily a behind-the-scenes, more core-side video conferencing like platform, I would say. And in full disclosure, or 888 VoIP, we don't sell any of these products today. I don't have any pricing information or anything like that. I just have a general working knowledge of these platforms as they stand, just by way of being in the space. But nonetheless, Videxio is more of like a core side, more of a platform, video platform play that maybe a master agent or an enterprise, if we're talking about hundreds and hundreds of employees, would utilize. But we see that white label a lot out there in the world. So maybe some of the smaller video conferencing service providers that are out there, or voice service providers that are out there that offer video conferencing as a service offering within their services menu, might white label a Videxio as their platform. So these 6 core features are all supported by Yealink, auto provisioning, registration, phone book sync, point-to-point calling, 50 participant meetings, and then WebRTC integration. That's all native between Yealink and Videxio. A pretty popular platform that's out there today, rising in popularity, I'd say, is BlueJeans. And Yealink has specific feature support on their hardware. It's called the BlueJeans Relay feature. And that just allows for direct meeting schedule integration, conference reminders or one-click to join reminders, and then recording all of the video meetings back on the BlueJeans server, not storing that information locally on the hardware, but just sending that back up to the servers itself. So it just provides a little bit more integration right directly into the user interface. So from a user perspective, as long as the device is paired, and we'll take a look at how that does that here, as long as the device is paired and registered to that BlueJeans platform, the user just has to walk in and just see what the events are. If there's a scheduled event, it's just one click to join, hit the event, hit connect, they're there. If there's not a pre-scheduled event on the calendar, not a problem. We'll also have directory integration. so that if the user wants to just have an ad hoc meeting with someone and knows what their user ID is, they can access that information right from the user interface as well and make a direct call to that person if they're available. Okay, so this is kind of how BlueJeans and Yealink accomplish that. We can see some Outlook or Exchange, email integration, and how that's all shared between the devices from the platform side down to the hardware. Okay, another popular platform out there, this is maybe a little bit more in the European marketplace, but we're starting to see this as well here in the States, is StarLeaf. And so with StarLeaf, they have built-in hardware support from the platform side, from the video conferencing services side. When you log into your StarLeaf portal, you want to go ahead and register a endpoint, much like how you would, let's say, a phone to a PBX. StarLeaf has a drop down of supported hardware endpoints that are good to go with their platform, many of which would be Yealink's video conferencing systems. So you just select the product that you want and you'll get a quick connect code, like a registration pin, we'll say, to input then into the web interface of the hardware endpoint. You log in, you go to the account menu option, select VC platform. In the drop down within the video conferencing system under platform type, you'll have multiple options, one of which would be StarLeaf. Take that QCP code is what StarLeaf calls it, that PIN code, that registration code, pop that in there, confirm, and that's all you need to do to register to their platform. Once you're registered, you'll see in the top right on screen that you'll have your Cloud ID number, kind of like your extension on a PBX, automatically appear up on the device. And then you'll see directory integration, event integration as well. Okay, so that's a quick touch on some popular platforms and how Yealink's integrating their hardware today. Lastly, I just want to touch on the roadmap for the rest of the year. No new hardware is being released in terms of the accessories and new models and all that. That's already been done, and that's what we discussed a little bit previously in the presentation. But as we continue to roll through the year, there's going to be some firmware and software updates and revisions made. And so there's 3 core revisions that Yealink has identified, and a couple are already in the marketplace, or one at least is in the marketplace. So the VCS V40 or version 40, that's a firmware version, is currently available. We can see that the target release for that was Q1 of this year. And it's specifically for the VP59, CTP20, and VCM34 devices. It's going to allow the existing VC800, 500, 200 systems that you may have previously purchased, or we may have in stock today, to then now support the accessories that we discussed. So again, the existing endpoints as they stand as of last year with the 800, 500, and 200, for the most part, are all staying the same. It's just now the accessories that are attached to them are being updated. And so how do we do that with some legacy product in terms of just when it was shipped to the US? Version 40. Okay. Next on the roadmap is version 41. So there's a collaboration solution, version 2.0, where I'm going to touch on that in the next slide, what that is, because there's a few things that are going to be built into that 2.0 collaboration schedule. But the idea is to improve video and audio quality, and then experiment and maybe have some beta support for AI. And we'll see how that plays to potentially with some of their Teams and Microsoft products. But from a long-term, big hand, little map perspective, AI is something that Yealink is looking at supporting in terms of voice commands or intelligent connections and things like that. There's going to be a new app as well, potentially to run on the Android operating systems that we see for the CTP20, VC200, and the VP59. So Q2 and maybe even the Q3 for version 42, 43, they're going to also enhance the collaboration solution we're going to talk about here next slide. But scalable video content, it's a different version of video codec quality essentially. Yealink is looking to enhance the video quality that they support. So SVC and 4K are just 2 mechanisms that that Yealink needs to support on the hardware so that they can ensure the highest possible quality level of the video systems and of the video flowing through them. So that's kind of the roadmap for the year. It's just firmware releases. Okay, so just to cap it off, version 40. If you have older equipment but want to buy new accessories for it, make sure you're on version 40. Version 41, we'll take a look at maybe a new ceiling mic and VCR20, new remote control, and then the collaboration enhancement through Collaboration Solution 2.0. And then throughout the course of the year, we'll see the new firmware releases. These VC550, VCH51, potential new hardware. Probably not going to be Q2 this year, but potentially sometime this year we'll see a new VCH51 as a cable hub, and then the VC550 might be like a go between the 800 and the 500. That's still pretty new, pretty preliminary. So I don't know that it's going to hit the Q2 release date, but nonetheless, that's kind of the idea for the forthcoming year. Okay, so what is the Collaboration Solution 2.0? So like I talked about before, is getting all the hardware in terms of the accessories supported by video conferencing endpoints today. But they want to also enhance what's supported by the hardware from the third-party side. So Crestron, AMX, those types of solution providers wanting to make sure that if a customer has already made that investment previously into that technology, but are looking to improve or enhance their video collaboration endpoints with Yealink, we can still utilize that legacy collaboration technology with the new video systems coming out. There's going to be a larger, or there's going to be support now for like more of a white labeling type of activity with the CTP20 and on the display for the customer's logo or potentially even the service provider's logo. And then when we talk about on the whiteboard annotation, let's say, like think again, like John Madden, Monday Night Football, circling things, highlighting things on a document being shared in real time, being able to actually save that information instead of just seeing it in the meeting, but then also, saving a PDF essentially with the markups on the document. And then in combination with that, with what we're talking about with AI function, we're talking about auto framing, which essentially is following the speaker, right? Where if I'm pacing and talking in a conference room, the camera might be able to follow me. And then incorporating the overall audio quality by supporting stereo and speaker positioning and tracking. So just making sure that as the audio input direction changes, so shall like the output keep up type of thing, so that again, the collaboration experience is more human. People move around, things get shuffled, but the voice in terms of the audio is the most important thing that wants to be shared. So that's the solution 2.0, is kind of making sure all the hardware with video conferencing endpoints are supportive of the new accessories, enhancing some of the accessory features, and then combining that now with the version 41 firmware that's slated to be released. So that's that. That'll take us right to the end here. So I know that was kind of a lot. It was a quick run through of where the hardware stands today, some of the back-end support that's on the roadmap, and the different cloud integration features supported. But does anybody have any questions about anything that we discussed today? And if so, feel free to utilize the question tool on the webinar menu. Anybody have anything? If you want to contact me directly, you can feel free to do so. If you haven't worked with me before, you can send me an email. Send an email to VCS Victor Sierra Charlie as in Video Conferencing Solutions at 888 VoIP. Again, my name is Kyle. I'm the vendor and product manager here at 888. So a question came in, will the VP59 have a SFB and Teams firmware load? It's my understanding that it will, but ultimately that firmware is still going to be relying on the APK version of Teams. So it's still an Android application-driven integration, but I believe that it's on the roadmap to have a Teams-specific firmware. Well, even better, Logan from Yealink actually just confirmed that they do have a Teams firmware available today. So give us a shout here at 888 or even head up Yealink if you'd like to get that license file. All right, all. Don't see any additional questions coming through. So again, if there's anything that you'd like to talk offline about or just reach out directly to me about, feel free to do so. Again, email is vcs@888voip.com. My name is Kyle. Want to thank everyone for taking time out of their day to meet with us and to discuss this video conferencing solution from Yealink in the 2019 year. And for being a Yealink and 888 VoIP partner, if you're doing that today, thank you very much. We'll catch you next time. Again, thank you so much. Take care.